Winning Motor Trend Truck of the Year 3 times in a row, that had never been done before. Then again, neither had a 12-inch touchscreen or 1,000 pound-feet of torque. Never been done before. It's just kind of our thing.
TV live at the Intermission, brought to you by Ram Truck, winner of Motor Trend Truck of the Year for the 3rd year in a row. Brendan Parker alongside Matt Stajan. We are a 2-1 hockey game in favor of the Edmonton Oilers right now, and the Calgary Flames obviously got the start they were looking for in terms of an early goal, but after that, a little bit more in favor of the Edmonton Oilers. What did you see?
Yeah, it was, penalties didn't help. I think you take 3 penalties in a period against that offense with 2 of the best players, it's not going to bode well for your team. But they got off to the start they wanted. First shot, they got a goal, but the problem was they didn't have a shot again until second half of that period. So, yeah. I think they'll, come back here and regroup here at intermission. We've seen it this year. That happened a few times, and hopefully they can put a solid 20 here and set themselves up for the third.
Well, before we take a look at the goals, the highlights from that first period, I want to just ask you about just the feeling of a Battle of Alberta. When I know these guys have it 10 times this year, which is a little bit different, but everybody kind of talks about that feeling when you show up to the rink, knowing that it's one of those nights, head-to-head matchup against the Edmonton Oilers. It does have a bit of a different feel to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. There's just a buzz, in the city that you're in the province, really. You feel it from morning skate right up until the game and warm up. So you definitely feel that buzz. It's something that'll never change with the history of the 2 teams just being in the same province. And now that the 2 teams are coming on and are higher in the standings and more competitive, it's going to for sure be something to watch for a long time here. And we'll thank Matthew Tkachuk and Zach Kassian for that.
Yeah, no question about it. Just a minute, we'll take a look back at the last time these 2 teams met, which was on February the 1st of 2020, right here in the Scotiabank Saddledome, provided plenty of fireworks. Let's first go back and look at the 3 goals from that first period, and we'll break down what we saw. But early on, it was a nice shift by Dylan Dubé, Elias Lindholm, and Matthew Tkachuk that helps produce the first goal of this hockey game. And tell me what you saw here, Matt, in the breakout that leads to this goal.
Yeah, early in the game, Dubé does a great job here getting in the middle of the ice, and Lindholm follows him up, and they use the D-man as some traffic there. You can't really blame Koskinen. I know it looks bad, but he had that D-man right there, and you throw that first shot on net that way, good things are going to happen, and that's a great start for the Flames.
So Elias Lindholm gets his 3rd of the year from Dubé and Tkachuk, but then not long after that, the Oilers have an answer, and this one kind of cycles around to the top of the circles and then ends up getting deflected right there by Jujhar Khaira for his 1st of the season.
Yeah, it's kind of been a theme this year with Markstrom. To beat him, it's got to be deflection, a rebound, or a cross-ice pass. So, nice tip here after the Flames had a good kill on the penalty right before that. But that gave Edmonton some life, and they really dominated the period after that.
Well, and then you mentioned the number of penalties the Calgary Flames took in that first period and the opportunities the Oilers got. They finally capitalized with one here. 91 seconds left in the first period, and no surprise who finishes it off.
Yeah, and you can't keep taking penalties against Edmonton. They play Draisaitl and McDavid on both units, so they're out there the whole 2 minutes. And this is when they're tired and they're making these plays. This is at the end of the second penalty when they took 2 in a row at the end of the period. And look at the play that's made there, and they're not going to miss those. So you keep giving these guys chances, they're going to make you pay, and that's why the Flames are down a goal right now.
What about that Oilers power play? I mean, we know why they're dangerous. We know the weapons they have on it. But what have you seen just in terms of how the Calgary Flames, they were able to kind of mitigate some of the damage, at least in a couple of early chances, but just how they can beat you in a number of different ways?
Yeah, well, their penalty killer, their best penalty killer is their goaltender. He's been great all year, but they're very, you don't want to give McDavid too much speed, but McDavid seems to get into the zone with clean entries every time because he's such a threat. So you're just kind of, making sure it's not a breakaway or something like we've seen this year. But as a whole, they did a good job. They're very tight in the box. I think you just want to limit those seam passes. We've talked about this early in the year. Those seam passes will kill you. The goalie can't stop them, and the goal we saw was a seam pass. But other than the one pass that got through, I thought the Flames did a great job on the penalty kill. And but you keep giving these guys chances. They're gonna make you pay. They're too good.
All right, let's take about a minute and kind of reflect back on February the 1st, because that was a game that I think everybody in this province, as you laid out, Oilers or Flames fans, whichever side you're on, will remember that meeting. 102 penalty minutes. But it was kind of the cap of what had already taken place. You mentioned Tkachuk and Kassian, but this rivalry really did take another step last year as a total.
Yeah, it did. And, I think everybody was kind of waiting for it to take another step. It's slowly been trending that way the last bunch of years with both teams getting some young players in, that are at the top of the league. But, Matthew Tkachuk throwing those hits in the previous game, everything just kind of snowballed in that rivalry, just went to the next step here. And obviously a line brawl at the Saddle Dome, the goaltenders fighting. You're not going to see that too often anymore, but we got to see in the Battle of Alberta, and it lit a fire for this rivalry, and I think it has for a long time.
Well, Mike Smith's in the building tonight, not in the lineup, but of course he was right there at center ice with Cam Talbot throwing some haymakers. And were you surprised to find out that was the first goalie fight in the Battle of Alberta? It surprised me, but I guess.
Yeah, that is surprising, knowing how many, how the 80s were played and the two teams and the tough guys they had. But yeah, I guess I don't remember Grant Fuhr or Billy Ranford fighting. And,
Mike Vernon in there.
Yeah, Mike Vernon. But it was, just seeing Mike Smith at center ice there, staring down Talbot, playing with Mike Smith in Calgary. That was quite the scene to see.
Yeah, I know you played with Smith before, so there's some fire there too, and obviously Talbot wasn't going to back down. I mean, that's going to be one that I'm sure that we brought up to both of those guys for the rest of their careers.
Oh, forever. And yeah, for as long as they lay. It's like the Vancouver line brawl before the game. You talk about it yearly on the anniversary.
Exactly.
It's just something that's going to stick with the fans in the hockey world forever, especially as the games kind of transition where we see less and less of that.
Just one more to circle back to this hockey game. Flames have talked kind of endlessly, it seems, about that consistency level. Obviously a first period that maybe they're not overly pleased with now again, but short memory, that's kind of the one thing that they've been focusing on. How do you turn things around here?
Yeah, you want to get in a rhythm. I think the penalties kind of take the rhythm away from the game, so they had to kill 3 penalties. And, you're trying to get everybody in a high intense game. There's so much talk going into this game with the rivalry and what to expect. And there's no fans here, so the players are juiced up and ready to go. And then, if you're sitting on the bench for those penalties, you got to find a way to get back in it. So, I think we'll see some lines roll over here, and the Flames hopefully, have a good first 5 minutes and focus on that.
All right, so they've got some work to do. Down 1 after 1, and now we turn our attention to the final 40 minutes. Calgary Flames trailing the Edmonton Oilers by a score of 2-1. Matt and I will be back here in the second intermission, brought to you by Ram Truck. We'll see you then.
We call it the Ram 1500 Limited. But truth be told, there's nothing limited about it. Ram 1500, winner, J.D. Power Award for Best Driver Appeal.